In 1884, King Leopold II of Belgium attended a meeting with Europe's elite. They met in Berlin, Germany, to discuss Africa. Specifically, how should they slice up the continent and divide it among themselves? Now, at the time, Africa was sort of like the new kid on the block. Everyone wanted a piece of it, but no one really knew what to do with it yet. Back then, Africa wasn't known for its tasty treats or fancy gadgets. In fact, it wasn't really on the radar of many Europeans until explorers started stumbling upon the riches hidden within its borders. Gold, diamonds, exotic animals, rubber trees, all sorts of things that could bring in lots of money. Suddenly, having a slice of Africa was a pretty good idea, but Leopold wasn't just any king. He had a plan. As the conference got underway, he told the world he would make sure people in the Congo received better treatment and would build schools, hospitals, and houses. Basically, he painted a picture of a noble mission to uplift humanity. Well, actually, there was a small problem. The whole uplifting thing was a lie. Leopold planned to turn the Congo into his very own personal cash cow, working people to death and hoarding the profits for himself. And when I say working them to death, I mean it. In less than 25 years, about 10 million people lost their lives in the Congo. That's around half of the population. But how does a king get away with something like that? How did he trick the whole world and get away with it? Let's delve into Leopold's secret strategies and uncover how he made everyone believe his big fat lie. Leopold II wasn't your typical king. While other monarchs flaunted power and luxury, he played the game of international relations and diplomacy, amassing wealth and influence in ways that were a bit sneaky, shall we say. Sure, he had the usual royal trappings, a shiny crown and all that jazz. But his real playground was in the realm of business deals and political negotiations. You see, back in the day, being a king wasn't just about wearing fancy clothes and living in a big castle. Kingship was also a job, a full-time gig that required a lot of skill and strategy. Leopold understood this better than most. He played the diplomatic game like a boss, making deals and striking alliances that expanded his influence far beyond the borders of his tiny kingdom. He was the mastermind behind the creation of the Congo Free State. Officially, it was an independent state, but in reality, it was his personal property. He called it his property. No one else could use it without his permission, and anyone who disobeyed him faced severe punishment. He loved to throw lavish parties and balls, attracting influential guests from all over Europe. The guest list included royalty, diplomats, and even heads of state. Now, why would he do such a thing? Well, you see, Leopold was playing the long game. These parties weren't just about having a good time, though they certainly had plenty of that. They were also a chance for him to make connections, to network, and build alliances that would serve him well in the years to come. By hosting these extravagant events, he was able to rub shoulders with some of the most powerful people in Europe. And that wasn't a bad thing. He was particularly fond of throwing parties with a distinctly African flair, complete with traditional music, dance, and cuisine. It was a unique touch that helped to set his soirees apart from the usual run-of-the-mill royal affairs. But underneath the glitz and glamour of these high society gatherings, something sinister was brewing. For while Leopold was busy schmoozing the elite, he was also laying the groundwork for his personal empire in the Congo, and no one suspected a thing. As the sun set over the Congo, a different kind of party was getting started, a celebration of life, culture, and community. People danced under the stars, drums echoing the rhythm of their ancestors. There was laughter, storytelling, and the warmth of shared traditions. But Leopold's shadow loomed over the festivities, casting a dark cloud on the horizon. Under the guise of these grand parties and diplomatic missions, Leopold sent his agents to seize the Congo and exploit its resources and people. His men, led by the ruthless General E.M. Jack Antaranya, descended on the Congo like a swarm of locusts, seizing land, resources and people. The natives were forced into brutal working conditions, enduring horrific punishments and living in squalor. Meanwhile, Leopold grew richer, indulging in extravagant spending and amassing a fortune that would make him one of the richest men in the world. He used the money to fund his lavish lifestyle, traveling the world in style, hobnobbing with the elite and generally living the high life. He built sprawling palaces and filled them with priceless art and artifacts. But his fortune came at a terrible cost, the lives and dignity of millions of Congolese people. As the world marveled at Leopold's wealth and power, they had no idea where it all came from. The truth was hidden in plain sight, buried under layers of deception and propaganda. The cost of Leopold's empire was immeasurable, but it was a price he was more than willing to pay to secure his fortune. Fast forward to today. You might be wondering why we're talking about this dusty old colonial past. Well, because it's not as over and done with as you might think. The legacy of Leopold's empire still resonates today. The economic, social and political structures he put in place continue to shape the Congo and its people in profound ways. Take the economy, for example. Leopold set up a system that funneled wealth out of the Congo and into his own pockets. And sadly, that trend has continued in many parts of the Congo, even to this day. Despite being rich in resources, the country remains one of the least developed in the world. The gap between the haves and have-nots is staggering, and the cycle of poverty seems almost impossible to break. Then there's the political landscape. Leopold ruled the Congo with an iron fist, crushing any dissent and opposition. And that culture of fear and repression continues to linger. Leaders cling to power, human rights are violated, and ordinary citizens live in constant fear of the next atrocity. But perhaps the most insidious legacy of Leopold's empire is the deep-rooted inequality. He treated the Congolese people as less than human, denying them basic rights and subjecting them to horrific abuse. And that mentality of racial superiority and oppression has been hard to shake. Even today, the Congo is a deeply divided country along ethnic and racial lines. So why are we still talking about Leopold and his empire? Because acknowledging the past is the first step towards creating a better future. We need to understand the roots of inequality, the origins of poverty, and the sources of political instability in the Congo. Only then can we work towards a more just and equitable world. But wait, there's more. You see, Leopold's empire didn't just collapse because of the awful things he did. It took a combination of factors to bring it tumbling down. First, the scale of his atrocities became too great to ignore. As the number of deaths mounted and the stories of abuse and exploitation spread, people began to ask questions. Second, there were those who dared to speak out. Journalists like E.D. Morel and Roger Casement risked their reputations and even their lives to expose the truth about Leopold's regime. Their investigations shed light on the horrors happening in the Congo and galvanized public opinion against Leopold. And third, the growing power of Belgium played a crucial role. As Belgium grew in size and influence, it became clear that Leopold couldn't go on much longer. His brutality was simply too much for the rest of Europe to stomach. Belgium ultimately stepped in, taking control of the Congo and ending Leopold's reign of terror. So while Leopold may have succeeded in fooling the world for a time, the truth always comes to light. The exposure of his atrocities serves as a warning to those who seek to exploit and oppress others. Justice may be slow, but it always prevails in the end. And speaking of prevailing, if you've made it this far, you clearly love to learn about the hidden truths of our past. If you want to dive deeper into more untold stories that challenge the official narrative, I've got some exciting news to share. I've created a free ebook packed with captivating tales that you won't find in any history books. From daring explorers to forgotten inventors, each story is a testament to the incredible complexities of our world. Grab your free copy in the description below and join me on a journey through time. You'll discover surprising insights and gain a fresh perspective on the events that have shaped our world. Thanks for joining me on this journey through history. Remember, the truth has a way of prevailing, and together we can keep uncovering it. See you next time on Shadows of History.